Precisely.
That is why-
That once you lose the credibility, you don't have good employees, you don't have good vendors. The vendors are not supplying on time.
Building the rapport with contractors, then giving my lands for joint venture, then understanding where there is a
Compared to you owning 50% of a company which is 100 crores.
100 crores.
You're owning
Or how much they have to file their tax or how they have to manage their books. So there is where you completely help my investors as well. Today, we're going to have an interesting video. We have a special guest who is a chartered accountant by profession, and he's going to be a part of our video today. We would have a close understanding on an important role of an auditor in every entrepreneur's journey. I would like to thank Mr. Anil to be a part of our show.
Thank you.
For giving me your time, busy schedule today. I would like to get back to those days when we were 10 years back and how our journey started together as me being your client and me seeking for advice and for audit assistance. So it's been a long journey. So I would like to help the viewers understand bit by bit on where do you see Liam Construction grow from there, and at the same time, what advice do you give us, for the youngsters, for the entrepreneurs?
Yeah, Ashwin, it's been a tremendous journey over 10 years. We almost started together because, that is where I think when we met, I was also very in the initial stages of my journey as a practicing professional. And it has been a journey together. We, in our profession, we always build a long-term relationship. We always tell that, we grow with our clients because usually, that is how the journey of every chartered accountant is, that the trust builds up and it goes on. Same with you, it has been a tremendous journey. I've seen you starting with that initial, I've seen you not taking jumping into something, always it has been a cautious growth, first started with the rental income, then you constructed the rental building, then you built up the rapport with the contractors, then you saw that, okay, you have the capacity to have something on your own, getting into construction industry. Then real estate being a different, the construction is one part, and landing with the deal, land is separate part. So
Yes.
you got into a joint development by giving your land, joint development with some other builders. You built up that how the real estate industry goes, and then getting into your own construction. So that's been a step-by-step journey. Always we always tell that risk and returns. Wherever you take, over risk tend to fall, but risk you taking is always a part of journey, and always we call it as a calculated risk taking. So
Yes.
that is what I've seen you over a period of time doing it, and it's been a tremendous.
No, I would say more thanks to you, because I, as an investor in the initial stages, I was I wanted more, I had many opportunities coming in. So as a business opportunist, or as, we seek for opportunity, we want more returns, we want more projects. But you always like a well-wisher as a mentor. You tell me, you stop me where it is not necessary. We have to take right decisions, and where the right guidance is important at the right point of time. So anytime, any new investment that I do, I ask you, I tell you, Anil, this is what I'm doing. What is your advice? This is the first thing. Then afterwards, it's Anil who tells me that, Ashwin, you can go ahead or no, because he understands the risk factor. So that is what I appreciated, and I'm happy that you have understood my career growth. Okay, from starting from rental income, then building the rapport with contractors, then giving my lands for joint venture, then understanding where there is an opportunity, giving budgeted, or I would say giving affordable housing to the customers that we cater to. So in this process, I think Anil knows my operations and my method of doing business from starting to end. I think as an auditor also, you have understood our business as good as I understand it. And that is where you've taken that extra time and so helped us grow this business.
Yeah.
So that is where your
Yeah, it
role has
is.
been very crucial.
Yeah, it is as an auditor, as a financial advisor, especially for the small entrepreneur, we have to take up that role where we have to be a holistic role of compliance partner as well as advisor on the strategic matters. I always tell this one part, when there is always a conflict between the sales and the finance. Always the sales is something which is a growth, and they take the risk towards that achieving that growth. But I would say the finance is something which is a safekeeper, because why do you do a business? To earn a profit.
Yes.
When that sight is lost, that why are you doing a business, that is the businesses fall.
Yes, absolutely.
So wherever you are risk taking, it is it has to be a calculated risk taking. Sometimes we love to add. What happens is that apart from our professional knowledge, since we handle a lot of businesses, we get insight. We have seen the falls and the rising of many businesses.
So definitely from the starting, you might have seen a big curve from starting from demonetization, then from the GST, then from the COVID.
Yeah.
And I think you have seen many cycles of businesses.
Yeah, true.
And I think many businesses have suffered and gained in the process.
Precisely. We have seen the businesses falling down. There are businesses which grow, some businesses fall because of the things which are beyond their control, some because of the
internal
their misdeeds.
Yes,
I would say mainly the financial mismanagement, that is taking over risk than what they can absorb.
So I just want to stop you there. Now, when you talk about the risk, I remember a time when you told me that Ashwin, you should minimum have 6 to 8 months of cash flow. Advise the entrepreneurs on how do you maintain cash flow in any business.
See, the cash flows depend, the management depends on the business cycle. See, what is receiving money from the customers to making the payment to the vendors and employees. This is the cash cycle. Okay, and distributing the profit to the shareholders or the investors. So this is the cash cycle. So each business has a different cash cycle.
Got it. Now being specific to real estate business.
Real estate cash flow management plays a very important role because it is a very cash intensive industry.
Yes.
You will have to make a huge amount of investment in the land, construction, and then you will have to sell it, and you get the
so the investment goes for a longer period till the product is ready.
Yes. So there is. Cash flow should be, coming to your early question, how important is the cash flow, or the importance of cash flow. Cash flow shouldn't be in a position where you're not able to meet your expenses. You are in a situation where you don't know how you're going to meet the expenditure tomorrow, till the next cash flow is coming in. That is why it is, because what happens, suppose if you don't end up paying your employees on time, the good employees will leave.
Yes.
The people who are not able to find the employees will stay with you, and whatever you are going through, whatever troubles you have, your troubles will get multiplied. Same thing with the vendors.
Yes.
The vendors will delay the supplies. No vendor will absorb the cost. So what happens is that if your vendor you are paying in within 10 days, he will have a pricing versus the vendor whom you are paying 90 days. He'll always load the interest cost on you.
Yes.
And that interest cost you don't have a control, because the other person what rate he is borrowing, that all depends on that. So, and second is that if you're not paying the vendors on time, the best vendors don't come to you to supply. That is one. They will delay the supply.
The competitive price advantage.
Yeah, they will delay the supply. You will not have the trust of the vendors.
So basically, we will lose credibility in the market.
Precisely.
That is
that once you lose the credibility, you don't have good employees, you don't have good vendors. The vendors are not supplying on time. You sort of lose your face in front of the customers because the project gets delayed, and that will spoil your name, and that will spoil the entire whatever you have earned, whatever goodwill you earned.
So how long should a company, how do you calculate the amount that you have to retain as a cash flow? That is a big dilemma, because what happens is that in real estate you have inventories. Now you have inventories to sell. Okay, so we would be, as a business owner, I would do my calculations thinking that these inventories are going to get sold. Whatever extra I'll have to infuse. So that is my prediction. Sometime market instability, like we mentioned in the earlier, market instability also is a factor where your cash flow has to, go up or down. So
yeah, that is what it is. It all depends what we call it as a financial discipline.
Yeah.
So if you have a financial discipline, what happens is that the market cycles, you are better equipped to handle it.
Yeah.
Okay, and one advantage whenever this recession happens, one advantage is that it happens for everyone in the market. Okay,
yes.
so how you beat it is how better you place yourself in that.
Yes.
So how it happens is that the basic principle of the cash flow management is the financial budgeting. At the beginning of the year, you have a financial budget. These are going to be the projects which are ongoing. These are the projects which are going to complete. Everything you capture it in the budget, whatever is going to be there, and you calculate, you monitor, compare your actuals with the budgeted numbers on a month-on-month basis. So what you do when you do that financial budgeting versus the actual comparison, what happens is that whenever there is a recession kicking in, you get an early warning.
Yes.
So your budgets are not consistently, the revenue collection is not consistently meeting the target. Then you recalibrate your budget. You slow down your this one so that you don't sign up the new projects. You can recalibrate. That is where if you are ignorant that is when you don't have financial discipline, you don't have this visibility into the financial aspect, you do end up making the mistake. You will realize that you have done a mistake when it is too late for you.
Yes.
You end up making the further investment at a regular phase without knowing that you shouldn't have done that.
Okay. When you mentioned that you should have the right visibility. Now, when you say visibility, it kind of connected with me because in my initial days of investment, and if there was a fluctuation or instability in the market, I would be a little worried because I don't know what do I do the next 1 year. Now, you raise another valid point, which also mentions that the recession is not for one person, but it is for everyone. Now, in that actually connects with what I do as a business, because now when the recession hits on, I get my acquisition at a better price. So my real estate acquisition comes at a better price. So any property, my negotiation skill, I have a better scope of negotiation. I can buy properties at better price, and I can also subsequently sell it at a better costing for the client that who ultimately purchases it. Because of the instability, I have now this market today we see is going through a little instability in terms of the transition to AI, and that we see in the global market. There is a lot of instability in terms of the other factors of war and all this example that we see. What is happening is that my investment. So I am going more focused towards budgeted house. So now I feel that a person who requires a flat between 70 lakhs to 1 crore, okay, there is a good ratio and a good percentage of clients. So I am more inclined to that sector right now. Like I think when we had started our venture as a builder, Anil saw me selling flats at 40 lakhs also. So I think you remember the times when we were selling flats at 40 lakhs.
Yeah.
So today, that same budgeted housing has gone to 1 crore. I don't know, you call it inflation, you call it the rupee value has gone down, the inflation is high. I don't know what you call it, but there is a normal client who comes to me who had 3 years back or 4 years back that I wanted to buy a flat at 40 lakhs is now being like, Ashwin, is there a flat at 1 crore for 2 BHK? Like, could I get a flat within 1 crore? So the understanding of a flat that is budgeted is gone up to 1 crore now.
Yeah, precisely.
Yes. So, and in a bigger A-class category of builders, any flat that is even 20 kilometers from the city is gone up to 1.5 crores for a 2 BHK. So, purchasing a flat is difficult for a common employee or a common person who's working who requires the first home for his family. So it is difficult. So we cater to that need. So that is where we are more affordable, and our flats get sold faster. So I think that is one way that I have tried to try to reasonable out the bad market that is going on. So maybe the premium, I only cater to 20% in my portfolio. 20% is premium and 80% is toward budgeted. So that is because thanks to you and your advice that we have also made such a decision.
Yeah, but as I had mentioned otherwise also, so whenever recession is there, when you have a premium luxury apartment or luxury property, the number of buyers are less, and you are blocking a huge amount of money in one property.
Yes.
Whereas the budgeted, see every person who is staying in a rented house, why is he staying?
Yes.
He is migrated from a rural place or a tier 2 city, and he is not capable of, he is not earning so much to have his own house. So when he has a capacity, he is going to earn in so much that he can afford a luxury apartment.
Yes.
It is going to be the residential thing has become a lifestyle.
Yes.
I would say, because
So it's a basic.
you would go based on your earning capacity. So there are a lot of people who are staying in a rented accommodation who would like to, first their choice would be a budgeted apartment.
Yes.
And then based on their earning, increase in the earning, they would upgrade themselves to a better residence. So there is always, the number of you in your own circle, if you see how many people are coming and staying in a residential rented premises, that itself gives you what is the huge is the potential of the market. Yeah.
So that is what because of the so experience would be one thing that I would phrase it. And when I see instability in the market, I feel more confident as a business owner or as an entrepreneur that I could negotiate with better.
I would definitely
Yes.
agree. I would always, clever business person is a person who finds better opportunity. And
Yes.
I always say that when there is trouble times, there would be better opportunity.
There is a better opportunity.
Sure, businessman.
Yes.
That is always true.
So that is where, from me being worried in the initial stages when the market is unstable, now coming to a point where I see better opportunity at this point of time, and that is not worrying me. And the cash flow is also getting managed, as we discussed. The cash flow is getting managed well, and so we have also, in fact, recently found opportunity in bigger projects which we are doing a legal and going ahead. And I also see budding investors also coming inside. Like, we have a lot of investors who see to invest and get substantial returns. So we have multiple investors. I think few of the investors, you have met them yourselves, who are invested in our company. So you have not only guided us, but you've guided our investors as well and our associates. So that is one thing that I appreciate, that you have not only saw our books, you don't go just to a theory or up to just filing, but you advise and you support not only our team of Liam Constructions, but you also support the investors who come inside, because tomorrow when they get their returns, their tax assessment or how much they have to file their tax or how they have to manage their books. So there is where you completely help my investors as well. So that is another area which I would also thank you for your involvement.
Yeah, I always believe that knowledge is not something which is it's God blessed, and it's always grows with the sharing. So always whatever knowledge we, as I mentioned, we have the professional knowledge which comes from the academics, as well as the experience of handling the clients, having seen the clients. And what advantage we get with being an auditor is that when we get into the books, we get to know how the business is, what it is. We can understand without somebody telling us.
Yes.
That is the advantage of probably a businessman need not have to tell us like what he is doing, what financial, what business decisions he's making.
Yeah.
We read it from the our books of accounts. So that is the advantage we have, and that builds up a lot of knowledge with us. That there is no, it is there, and we don't mind sharing it. That's what, whenever there is a scope for us to give an advice, you always go ahead and give that advice.
As a chartered accountant, what is the right mindset for a business owner that you would like to see?
See, what I've seen is that a businessman is always ambitious.
Yes.
Okay, always ambitious, because otherwise he wouldn't be in business. It's always, unless it is a family-driven business. So, but an entrepreneur is always ambitious. That's why he is into entrepreneurship. So, mindset that a person should have is, ambition comes, that is there. The integrity and the trust building, okay, that plays an important role, because building the relationships, person cannot go a long journey alone. So when the entrepreneur journey is like, the building those trusted relationships, important role. So when a first investor has invested, so in your example, an investor has invested a small amount in you, and you are delivered promptly the returns on that. That not only makes him prompt him to
invest more,
or not only invest himself more, and tell 10 people to invest.
Yes.
So a vendor, you have been prompt in making his payment whenever you had money. In trouble times, you will always extra credit time to give that extended time period based on, of course, his capacity to give you, to support you. Same thing with the employees. The employees are taken care well.
Yes.
So they would, put their whole and soul. One of the important, factor which make a differentiator between one business to another person is the human resource. Okay, how good employees, because as you grow, it is not the individual, you drive the entire business as an individual. It is your team which runs the business, and the better the team you have better this one. So these are the qualities a businessman should have. It is not, to go the long journey by taking the people together, building that trust, have that integrity, be transparent to the investors. These are the qualities a business entrepreneur should carry.
So basically, to sum it you suggest that an entrepreneur should take care of his existing clients and his existing associates. That gives him, the exposure to a better, to the network that he already has. So that would also help him not only have a goodwill, also that he has reference through word of mouth around the circle also. So in our previous conversation, we spoke about financial discipline. Can a person lead to wealth without financial discipline? And what importance is discipline in every part of his decision or day-to-day activity?
See, I would say it would be a mere luck if a person becomes wealthy without financial discipline. See, I wouldn't say that it is like, the back of the mind, the person always knows where he starts. That should be there, when you are the thing for the long run. See, suppose, there is, call it as a balancing the this one. You shouldn't, the liquidity versus the investment. It has to be managed well, in order to reach the financial goals.
So,
because without risk is always linked to the
returns, yes.
Okay, so unless if you're always playing safe, it will not get you the returns. But at the same time, if you're taking the risk over, exposing yourself to over risk, you're going to erode whatever you have. So that is what it is.
What is the difference between earning money and building wealth for you?
Earning money is, what is the short term, and, building wealth is for the long run. And building, when it requires you to take care of your associates. The earning money is what you get in hand. Okay, but, building wealth is like, which will increase what you're getting.
Yes.
The returns, how you reinvest your profits. Okay, you have earned certain amount of profit, how you reinvest so that whatever the base amount is there, that is giving you the return, that keep on increasing. And it is not only increasing the returns for you, it is increasing the people who are involved. It is investing, the investors who have given you the money, the vendors, the customers, they buy the flat. In your case, they fly the flat at a certain level and they resell it. So it is creating the wealth is for everyone. So
Yes.
this is whereas creating money is a short term small thing. I would say creating wealth is a bigger thing.
So any business should long term valuation is very important.
Yeah, I always tell this. One thing I tell: owning 100% for an entrepreneur, owning 100%. See, you are owning a company which is worth 10 crores. You are owning 100%. It is compared to you owning 50% of a company which is 100 crores.
100 crores.
You are owning 100% of a company worth 10 crores versus you owning a 50% of a company which is 100 crores, which is better.
Yes, which is good.
So this is the game you will have to play when you are you have to have this mind, visibility,
Yes.
this thought when you are in the game of creating wealth.
And also in my case, what I have realized is that I don't put my investment in one basket. So if you see, sometimes I have asked you like, Anil, I'm going to purchase this land. And in my initial stages, I used to give it to builders and find builders for joint venture. Later, I found a gap in the market. I realized that, the customers need, more nurturing, or the clients, they require more conversation, they require more explanation, they want more clarity on their investment, and they want a better quality maybe. So then I've realized, okay, I would start many investments where I'll find properties on joint venture and probably build on them, because I already have the experience of building and constructing in my prior experience. So in my case, I have not in one area that I've invested, in not one project. I've invested it in, at least now I have about 25 projects ongoing around. Maybe some with investors, some without investors. So I've also, with your advice, you have told me like, to what extent can you take the risk? So we have even gone to that extent to understand what is the cash flow required for the project also. And we have gone to that extent to understand what is the investors also, what is the percentage of investors that we have to expose ourselves. Now, some project which is valued at, maybe if the valuation of the project is 100 crores, it doesn't make sense taking 50 crores as investment, because there is, to some extent, we need cash flow of so many months until the project kickstarts. Do you feel that investing in one project that has 100 crore turnover is better, or multiplying your investments in different areas and different opportunities? So that is where investors get stuck in the initial stages. They have a lot of opportunities coming their way, and some opportunities are very expensive because you have only so much amount with you to invest. So how do you diversify it? Is diversification the right method, or do you find another strategy to enter?
See, diversification, always there is something as a leverage, financial leveraging we call it as.
Yeah.
Explain the term. What happens is that, suppose a project requires 100 crores to be invested.
Yes.
Okay, and the rate of return is 30%.
Okay.
Okay, now if you get a investor who is investing 50 crore, okay, 50 crore rupees, and the rate of return which you are liable to pay him is 15%.
Yes.
So what happens is that you are increasing your return on the rest of the 50 crore to 45%.
Yes.
So this is the game you have to play in the business. This is known as a financial leverage.
Leverage.
Okay, maximizing the return for the person who is taking the risk. Whether you have to invest, it is about financial planning. So it is when you are taking a decision of investing in a bigger project, whether you have the financial backup. Of course, you have limited resources. You have an investor backing you up.
Yes.
The big builders. So whenever they launch the project, there are people, that is what I told you, the long-term relationship. So they have built those people, they made those people grow.
Yes.
So they would buy so many apartments. Of course, these are offered at a very less rate.
Yes.
To also make a return. So, that gives the initial capital. So like that, financial backing is there for the project. You have the financial model built. When you have the commercial model built, how you are going to, what is the cost, what is at the what price you are going to invest, what is the money you are invested, what is the expected sale price, and how the cash flow. The financial modeling for the investment. If you are built, you can invest in the projects.
Yes.
And as far as in diversifying within the industry of a real estate, there could be. You have one project in the luxury segment. You have multiple projects because in the budgeted thing, you will be able to do numbers. So
Yes.
the multiple location matters. One is on the outskirts, could be in a different city.
Correct.
Environment friendly versus the city residents.
Yes.
So these are the things which can be played around. So always diversifying is always
Diversify is better. Thanks for your time to spare. We will definitely meet once again, and we will have another round of discussion where we will have more points to cover.
Eliminated this set of the GST that was available on your purchases. There is a difference of opinion. You are taking a stand, and the department is taking a different stand.
For example, Sajapur Road is giving me more returns. I will go to Sajapur Road more, and I will find more properties there.
His own business, and he has started entrepreneurial and is growing. Okay,
Yes.
there would be a stage where the business would start his existing business as well, and it went into a loss.
So he had to pump in a lot of money to
It went
sustain.
into a loss.